All right, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Systems Wealth Podcast. I'm your host, Noah Kronfly. I have with me another very special guest today, someone that I've read his books, I have listened and watched a lot of his webinars, and had the opportunity to meet in person and chat for a while. I'm a constant user of the products he's developed, and I'm super, super excited to be talking with him today. It is the great Andrew Pawlak. Andrew, thank you so much for joining me today. I really, really appreciate it.
Thanks, Noah. And it's quite the introduction, so I appreciate all those kind words. And yeah, man, it's great spending some time with you in Nashville, and happy to be here, man.
Yeah, dude, I really appreciate it. From the jump, I really just wanted to say, thank you, really. Like, it's been a pleasure to get to know you, to interact with you, to interact with your team. That experience that, getting to talk with you in Nashville. Like, when we finished up, I raced back to my hotel room and was just trying to like scribble and journal and try to put down some of the wisdom, some of the advice that I got from you just talking that night. So yeah, again, just wanted to say thank you.
Yeah, man. I appreciate that. And you know, when I see someone I think is special, it's kind of fun to talk to him, because it's like, oh man, like this person has a lot of potential, is doing a lot of cool things. He's young. I don't know. It's fun to talk to you, because you're the kind of guy I can see doing things. And there's a little bit of, like, I don't know, similarities that I can see in us, and it's like, dude, this guy's going to be something big. So cool.
Oh, wow.
Happy if anything I offered was of value in any way. Cool, man. I appreciate it, and I enjoyed it
Oh,
as
man.
well.
I appreciate the words. Yeah, seriously. One of it's funny because when we were talking that night, like we had some similarities in just like our almost like journey in entrepreneurship, even though obviously you're, much more advanced and farther along than I am. But yeah, it was cool just to like have some of the conclusions or just like some of the things that I have, tried to derive from my own journey and like bounce it off of you and be like, oh, okay, like I'm moving in some sort of the right direction. So yeah, that was super comforting as well.
Yeah, sometimes it's just like validation of, okay, cool. So I am thinking about this maybe in a way that somebody else drew the same conclusion
Yeah.
around the same kind of challenges. And okay, cool. It just helps you kind of you have confidence maybe in decisions, and kind of directions that you're going. So yeah, man, absolutely. I know that exact feeling.
Fantastic. Cool, man. I mean, the way that I like to start some of these podcasts, and it's because it's interesting. I always like to ask sort of, because I have trouble sometimes answering it for myself, and I'd be curious to hear what your answer is. But like when someone asks you what you do, like what's your answer to that? Like what's kind of your official title, I guess, almost what you would say.
What do I do? Well, that's that
It's
question.
such a
That's like,
simple question, but it's like,
you should be able
right?
to answer it perfectly in the same way
Exactly.
every single time.
100%. I guess it does
Uh,
depend on like the audience sometimes, right? Like some their like own, how like advanced they are, how much they know about like digital marketing maybe in general. But yeah, I mean, it's always like it's a difficult question that I find answering.
Yeah. So, we've developed a platform with the goal of helping primarily our main client type, which is mortgage originators,
Yep.
helping them create more opportunities to grow their business. And there's
Mhm.
so many different ways you can do it. And in fact, we recently, I don't want to go down this path necessarily right away, but there's even a reason we recently did a rebrand and a company name change, because previously when I answered that question, and people asked, company name, it put me in a bucket where it's like, oh, there's so much more to opportunity creation and helping people grow their business,
Yep.
create new opportunities, make more money. Really,
Right.
that's what it comes down to. Like, that's my value proposition. What I hope to do is help people make more money
Yes.
in the mortgage business. How do you make more money? You close more loans. How do you close more loans? Well, I could tell you, talk about that for days, but a lot of different ways to do it. And that is the focus of our company. We've created software, it's the platform, there's coaching, there's services that we provide to help our mortgage clients. And there's some new verticals that we're interested in, but it all connects right back to mortgage and housing. But really right now, our client base is primarily mortgage, and our
Mhm.
goal is to help you make more money, close more loans, be more successful, do the things in life you want to do. And
Yes.
a lot of people always come back to, oh, well, money isn't everything. I get it. Absolutely. It is not, but it allows you to do things that, you can't do without it. And you need money to unlock some of those opportunities. So, end of day, that's what we hope to achieve.
I love it. And you know what's funny? I mean, like again, this podcast being systems of wealth and being about money and just increasing like that in your own life, I've always found that money really is just like that output of doing things, doing the right things, right? Like that's just sort of the, the lag indicator of like what are the inputs that you're doing that lets you have that output. And it's just like playing the game better. Like when you're earning more money, it means you're just playing this all better. And I was reading and going through some of the like your note about the rebrand and talking about the term that you're using was like marketing revenue optimization, which like that's it. That's dialed right there. I love that so much.
Yeah, it's a mouthful. but it encapsulates a lot, right? It's
Right.
like optimizing and maximizing what you're putting out there every step of the way, from the money you invest to how you bring in opportunities, how you treat it, like all these things that we can kind of put into this larger kind of spectrum of where we focus as a company, because there's so many different ways we can offer solutions, and everybody's different. So it's not the same. You can't prescribe the same thing to everybody. There's
Yeah,
some
right.
foundational things that are like just across the board. You've got to be doing this. If you're in this world of doing mortgage or insurance or real estate, some of these similarities across these different verticals, no matter what, these things matter, but how you do it, how you get there, what's applicable to you, what isn't, what's maybe low hanging fruit in some situations because you're already
Right.
doing some stuff that's right there versus I've never even done a video before, like totally
Right.
different conversations, right? So you just got to assess and do some discovery and figure out like what makes somebody tick and what are they
Yes.
good at, what are they not, what are they trying to achieve, and come up with a plan that you can, customize based on the unique needs of individuals and in some cases companies and organizations that we work with. So yeah, so we really wanted to go broader with the messaging and our approach to how we look at what we're trying to solve. In the
I
past it
love
was
it.
very lead focused, and leads
Yep.
are important, but you
Right.
get put into a bucket I just did not want to be in any
Yeah,
longer with the
totally.
conversation around leads. So that was
Yes.
important to us. So yeah, they matter, but that's not everything, and it shouldn't be the beginning of the conversation, and it's definitely not the end of the conversation when it comes to how do I get more clients. Like leads are one part of it, but if I give the
Yeah.
wrong person the wrong leads, they don't know how to handle them, that there's a problem there. It's a Jenga tower, and the whole thing falls apart if you don't have the right systems and processes and understanding of like what do you do with those, how do you treat them, and
Right.
all that stuff.
Yeah, it's funny, like with, obviously you and I are both super close with Scott with Find My Way Home. And we've stopped
Yeah.
using the term leads in Find My Way Home because we talk about trying to help people like create more introductions or more opportunities or more conversations. We just stopped using that term leads because it's not what we're trying to do either, right? Like that's just not what it is. And I want to circle back and come back to what you're doing now with Rebel IQ and with leadPops now and just pick your brain on that a little bit. But I think it'd be fun to just kind of set the stage or just talk about sort of like your journey up into now where you're operating at. And I'd love to, I know we got to talk about it a little bit in Nashville, but I want to go back and just explore a little bit like where did your entrepreneurial spirit come from and kind of what was the first business that you started? What was like the path to now, operating that way you were at with, with leadPops and beyond?
Yeah, so I'll take you way back to like the first thing I ever did that I think got this little bug inside of me as a kid.
Yeah.
It was selling golf balls, lived on a golf course,
All right. Is
had a decent upbringing as a
that here in
kid.
California?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep. So had a house on a golf course, and I was 7 years old. I'd jump the fence and I'd go collecting as many golf balls as I could on all the hills and all in the brush, and I'd go clean them up, make them all shiny and nice, and then I'd go back onto the golf course with my bucket and I'd start yelling my pitch, and it was golf balls for sale, 2 for $1. And I'd yell it full as loud as I could do it. And I
So,
still have the exact same way I did it in my head. It's forever like etched in my brain. And it was one of those, it took so much courage as a freaking seven. Sorry, I gotta
no,
watch.
you're fine. Yeah. Yeah.
As a 7-year-old to yell at these golfers and try to time it to like it's before they hit or after, and someone would scream at me to get the hell off the course because they hit it into the
What's this
freaking
kid doing?
trees.
Yeah.
And then
Right.
it's my fault, of course, because if they're gonna blame the kid trying to sell golf balls for their crappy hit. But I remember the feeling of like and I used to do it, and I had a friend that I'd go with as well. She would help me collect the golf balls. She's a little bit older than me. It was my only friend in the neighborhood, and we'd go collect the balls together. She'd clean them, but she would not yell. And I got so like frustrated that she wouldn't pitch. And if she wouldn't do it, she never did it, never one time. And we did it for, I think it was at least a year of this being like a little adventure that we had.
Yeah.
But she would never pitch, and it frustrated me. And I would always like, someone has to do it. And I
Did she
didn't
have a
want to do it.
reason why? Was she like afraid? Was she just didn't
Just kind
want
of
to?
scared,
Kind of scared.
to just
Yeah.
sit there and yell at some people because they yelled at you. I would say we got yelled at back at to get off the court probably half the time. Like people were pissed off. So that happened. And one day I sold my whole bucket of golf
No
balls.
way.
And a
All
guy
right.
came by, and he was the manager of the course, and he had a little twinkle in his eye because he saw this kid selling golf balls, and you could just tell it was one of those things that he was like impressed by this whole concept of this 7-year-old with a bucket of balls yelling at golfers trying to sell them. He like went through all the balls, found a couple Titleists, and he's like, I'll just take the whole thing off you for $40.
All right.
As a 7-year-old, dude, I made $40 that day. That
Mhm.
was freaking, I was rich, dude. I
Yes.
was loaded. That was like, holy dude, I just struck it like Who knows what minimum wage was back then? It was
course.
1992, man. I must have, so I must have crushed it with
No,
my
you were
freaking,
balling.
I was balling. So that was it. You know, my dad was an entrepreneur. He started a business, moved here from Poland, worked his ass
All
off. He
right.
was up at 4 a.m. Didn't see
Nice.
a lot of him growing up. His life was trying to provide for his family, and he dedicated himself to that. So I got a chance to see two sides of it. It was the work ethic that that instilled that in me. Like I'm up at 4 a.m. and I'm in here before 5, and I work as much as I can before I go home.
Right.
And I also saw the side of, you didn't see your dad. He wasn't really there very much, and I don't hold that against him, but it made a lasting impression for me to not be that way with my kids and my family. It was like so
for
important
sure.
for me to like, and I struggle with it. There's no doubt that I'm not at all perfect with it. And
of course,
you know, but it's this whole thing of, I'm already in here from, 4 something till 5 in the afternoon. The girls are sleeping at like 7:30. So I get home at 5. I see them for 2 hours. They're already kind of tired. They're 4 and 2 years old. So I get 2 hours with them. So it's important to spend that time with them, try to be there for them, not go home and stare at my computer. Cause I love what I do. Like I could be in here until freaking midnight and sleep here and do all day long. It's just like my favorite thing in the world.
Yeah. I can see the gleam. Like it's just you talking about it a little bit. That's so cool. I love it.
Out of control. So, but
love it.
So it's that, and it's important, it's important to be there for my kids, my wife, all that. It matters a lot to me. So I'm not perfect. I got to just know, quit staring at your phone, dude. Your girl wants to play this little game with this stupid little toy she's got. And just looking at you with these eyes, and you mean so much to her. So it's just, you just got to figure out how to turn that shit off. So I try to be as productive as I can between my 12 hours of freaking nonstop grind. Sometimes I look back at my day and I'm like, what
happened?
I'm happy with it because I do so much, but I got to turn it off, and then I got to sleep, because if I don't sleep, I'm not going to have, so I'm in bed by like 8:30, 9 o'clock.
Nice. I love it.
I got to be right. So
of course
it's that balance, but that was it. That started this, I think, bug that I got early on, and turned into something I really wanted to do when I realized I didn't want to go to school growing up, and college was not for me. And
when was that realization? When you were like, school just isn't for me? When was that realization?
We'll get into some other, like junior high, probably. I really didn't like it, didn't care for it. I was, I grew up playing piano, like started playing when I was 6, quickly got really good at it, to the point where my parents went berserk. Honestly, they'd like all of a sudden, like, they're living their dreams through me, and now I'm going to Juilliard. I'm going to freaking be a concert pianist. No, this is their whole thing. Like, this is what they're
their dream. Yeah.
But I'll say, I mean, I was pretty good at this thing, but I liked it at first. I wanted to hear like Chopin or Beethoven on a CD and hear a song, and I'm like, oh, that's cool. I want to learn it, and I could play it, and I got lessons, and it was like, all of a sudden I'm playing the piano literally 2-3 hours a day, every single day. I'm 9 years old, taking music lessons, composition lessons, theory classes. Dude, it wiped out my whole life in that way for me. Like, as a child, it was way too much. It burned me out. It made me bitter. It made me mad.
Even at that like early age, you were having like that type of experience.
Well, because it was like, dude, I'm a kid. I want to go play. I want to go play football. It's going to be in the NFL. What are you talking about? I'm not allowed to play anything because my fingers, you can't catch a football. Your fingers are going to break. Your fingers are worth millions of dollars. You're going to be at Juilliard.
Goodness.
That bullshit. So it was like, they wanted the best for me, and I love them to death for, the opportunities they created, but it was too much. So
of course,
in junior high, the wheels started falling off for me. It was like too much, like discipline, too much authority, too much everyone's telling me what to do. I can't do anything that I want. So all of a sudden, a mischievous like elementary school kid, the mischief started to get a little bit more serious in junior high. And then by high school, man, I literally got kicked out of 3 different high schools, dropped out my junior year. So I was a high school dropout. I'm on path to, like, this kid's going to prison. He's going to be in jail. He's going to be a loser for life, is what like teachers were like. The most disappointing thing you could imagine to my parents ever, from this thing they thought was this like miracle prodigy boy to high school dropout, getting arrested, kicked out of schools, all the crap that like I brought upon myself. Like, I was just a punk kid.
Yeah.
I was angry. I didn't want authority. And it was, I was going down a pretty bad path. So it was, I realized I didn't want to go to college. After I dropped out, I got my GED, and I found myself right back into like a community college. They gave me a test. They put me in. I passed that test with flying colors. And then all of a sudden I'm in junior college in a classroom full of all the same freaking, and I was
same environment.
hell no. So I
Yeah,
dropped
right.
out of that. I was like, I hate
Okay.
this. And
Yeah.
so at that point, my parents were like, I was working at Blockbuster Video. Parents were like, this is going to be your life. And I hated
Yep.
Blockbuster because you can imagine Blockbuster was pretty bad. And my dad was like, dude, the only thing you can do if you don't get educated, because my parents were super educated, he
Yeah.
said, you get into sales. He's like, that's your only chance to not live a life of Blockbuster Video.
Mm.
You want to maybe be a manager at Blockbuster in 4 years or 6 years, because that's your path for like a career, or get into sales, get good at it. And, for all the advice that I ignored and I thought I knew better and I was a little smart ass as a kid, for whatever reason, I latched onto that and I believed that and I took it serious. I was like, all right, sales, huh? What the hell's that? I sold golf balls. That was fun.
Yep. I was just gonna say, yeah, you
Oh
had
shit.
that.
Okay. Selling golf balls. I remember that. I was pretty good
Right.
at that. At
Yeah.
Blockbuster, I had to sell people on some, like, buy a movie and get 3 free and get a thing of candy. I killed it every time for
Dude,
that. It
it's
wasn't
great.
worth anything. So I was like, okay, I could probably do that. So I looked for a sales job and I landed one not long after that. And it was selling websites to real estate agents in 2004.
All right.
So it was, you can say I never really freaking left it. It's
Yeah.
2023 and here I am. I work more
About
with
20
mortgage
years.
people,
Yeah,
but
right.
it's, I got the bug and I got into sales early, and that changed my life. It took a while. My 20s were a bit of a shit show, to be honest with you, for the first
Hmm.
good chunk of it, of getting over my, like, the younger years and getting all that crap out of my system and this way of thinking and just being like a punk and all that kind of stuff. A lot of bad decisions I made as a kid. It took a little bit to shake it off. It wasn't
Of
like, oh, I
course.
got into sales and I became this awesome. Like, no, I struggled a lot with other personal things in life, but
Yeah.
I met also my wife when I was 20, who I went to high school with her, and
Hmm.
I was in love with her in high school. I remember telling one of the guys, I was like, I'm gonna marry that girl one day.
I love it.
I got kicked out of that high school, so I thought I'd never see her again. And I thought I'd never see her again. And I ran into her when I was 20, and we have not left each other since. So it was pretty
Dude,
cool. And she's been,
it's great.
honestly, for me, she was there for me, and she watched me go from this frickin' still somewhat rough around the edges kind of guy who's got potential. And she, for whatever reason, saw something there and stuck with me and has been like, she's my rock. So I had that, if you don't have that, like, it's hard to get out of the shit that I was in and doing and thinking the way I was thinking. But I
For
always had
sure.
her to be like, bro, you can't lose that. Like, you got a diamond. So
Yes.
that helped quite a bit.
Good
And
on you. Yeah, good on you for that.
yeah. So anyways, got into some sales stuff, got pretty good at it, got really
Hmm.
interested in product, because I'm like, dude, I'm selling something. I think I could, if I built my own product, and I could build something that I think is easier to sell, because I'm a sales guy and I just want
Yeah.
yeses. I want yeses all day long.
Right.
I'm creative, so I thought of different ideas for product stuff and ended up going down the path of creating a business. In 2006, I launched with a partner that was somewhat successful, and then just, ever since that has been like chasing this dream of owning a company that will be mega successful, so I can prove myself and everybody wrong. That was my why for a while. And then as
Yep.
I matured, and now my why is obviously the stuff that, I want a legacy. I want to, I think I've proved some of the stuff that I wanted to prove that I could do and get past, and I've done that. But now it's like your wife, your kids, your family,
Yes.
and building something special that, like, lasts and matters and has an impact on people's lives. So
Dude, amen. That's great. Was that I know we talked about it in Nashville. Was that product that you had built with your partner? Was that like the original kind of idea of leadPops at that point?
the product was a mortgage website product.
Yeah.
So we did that, and it was cool at the time. It was like, really, I mean,
Oh
we
six. Yeah.
we grew and we did some cool stuff with that product.
Right.
At my role there was sales and product
Hmm.
development. And I'm
Okay.
like, my first time really working with developers to, like, build something from scratch. So I'm like, I could sell that, right? Make it do this, make it do that. These guys could code. There were kids, like, that built it at the time. Like, the stuff that happened there will never happen again. Like, the way the product was
Mm.
built, how quickly it was built, the talent of
Yes.
these kids that locked themselves up for a summer and built this thing.
Right.
And we started selling it, and before you know it, it was selling like hotcakes. People were signing up. I was just picking up the phone, cold calling, and people were responding. And before you knew, we had like 400 clients paying like $100 a month within
Dude.
like a year and a half, 2 years. I was able to recruit some of my original sales mentors from the first company I worked at, who then came and worked for us and helped us get this thing off the ground. And it was like all this magic happened there. And it went sideways because there was some challenges around. I don't want to get into personal stuff with my
Yeah.
ex-partner, but it was tough, man. There was,
100%.
not only did we not agree and see eye to eye on stuff, there was just a a problem with how he was managing and all
Mm.
the stuff that cost us a lot of human capital,
Yeah.
lawsuits, stuff that was just, if I put it in a book or in a movie and you saw the scene of what was going on, you'd be like, no one does that. Oh, come on. That's a little over the top. No one
Right.
behaves that way. Oh yeah, it was happening there. So try to get past it for a while, but his uncle invested the original seed money to get the company off the ground. So it
Wow.
was like, if they're not going anywhere. Right. And if I don't
Yeah.
like where this is going and I've tried to make it work, I got the idea for originally leadPops there. In 2009, we had not been investing back into the product. The cool stuff we built in 2006 had stagnated. It was like, dude,
I see.
we're tech guys. We got to innovate, keep
Right.
building cool stuff. Like, how are we can't be like resting where, we built this amazing thing and now it's the same thing it was 3 years ago.
Mm.
This has to continue to innovate. And
Right.
he didn't want to put any money into the development of product that was like, dude, we're going to ride this thing till the wheels fall off. And
Mm.
funny because a lot of the stuff I learned and how I do business and how I think about things these days, I do think like, what would my old partner do? I do the exact opposite. How would
Dude.
he think about this? I will go over here instead. And it was actually a training in my mind of exactly how not to treat people, how not to run a business.
Yes.
Like, I'm not perfect by any stretch of the imagination. I can't even tell you the amount of mistakes I made. But it was certain things that I would just never, ever do. And I got to see a front row seat at what that looks like when you run the
That's
operation
great.
like that. So
Right.
I got the idea, and this was kind of the straw that broke the camel's back. I got the idea for leadPops, and I thought I could bring that to our organization to say, hey, like, I've got this idea. I think we could do something really innovative. It wouldn't cost a lot to build it. Like, we could really now freaking leap past everybody if we added this to our offering.
Yeah.
Shared the idea with him, and he laughed at it and told me it was a stupid idea, and the name was dumb because I had the name already. I'm like, dude, we'll call the product leadPops. It's whatever. It's cute. And I changed my company name.
Right.
Maybe they're right in some way. It's like, dude, that's a dumb idea. Like, get back on the phones. I was good on the phone. So he's just like, get back on the phones, keep selling. I don't know what you're even, come on. So I was like, that's mine. Not going to let you have it. Not going to build it here. I'm not going to even say it one more freaking time. I gave you a chance.
Yep.
I'm going to go build that. That's going to be my baby. It's special. Nobody's doing it. I want to go create my own company, my own way. I don't want to just create a copycat of this company and go spin up a competitor, because that was in my mind. I was like, oh, I'll just do this on my own and I could do it better, but I'm just going to create like kind of a copycat because like this is how I would do it. It was my original product and I'll make it better because I'm a product guy. But this gave me something like super special. No one was doing it. This didn't exist. I'm like, now I'm going to like excitedly jump into this next opportunity, leave this behind, resign, leave my ownership on the table, leave vesting that I had in store for if I had stayed longer, that would have hit. And I said, I'm going to just walk away from it and I'm going to go build this thing on my own. And
Jeez, how old are you like when that was going down?
it was 2011. So 26.
That's what I am right now. I'm 26 right now.
Yeah.
Was there like hesitation? You were like, I've put a lot into this. I have this maybe financial incentive.
One of the
on
hardest
the table.
decisions
Okay.
I've ever had to make because it was my baby. That other company, man, I put my entire heart and soul into that thing, and I thought I thought that was it. I thought that was the one. It was, I'm never going to leave this. I'm going to make it amazing. And when it became crystal clear that this thing isn't going anywhere, you have a block that you cannot move. There's a mountain in the way, and you've tried for years now to fix it, address it, work around it. It was an impenetrable force that my partner he was just, you couldn't get out around it. So I don't know what he's up to. I wish him the best, but it was just, I had to go, and I had to go build my own thing, and it was scary, but it was also exciting. And after I left, it didn't take very long before I was like, best decision I ever made. Thank God. Like, why did you wait so long, you son of a gun? But not to say like I didn't have, dude, endless problems trying to get this thing off the ground. It just didn't. It was years of ridiculousness to try to get the new thing off the ground. A lot of fun, but man, I would not want to go back to those early days again. Like it would. For sure. It's almost like I think about like 2011, 12, 14. I'm like, oh my gosh, never again, please. I don't want to do that. Like the struggles I'm having now, they're not fun either sometimes, but I like them more than the struggles of back then.
Right, for sure. Well, that was one of the things that you and I obviously connected on. I mean, I've talked about like the partnership that went sideways on me as well, and we don't have to go super deep into that as well. But that was something that we talked about. And there was something that you just said too, like you're thinking about like, what would my partner do? All right, I'm doing the opposite of that. Charlie Munger talks about like a similar sort of thing. Warren Buffett's business partner being like, okay, if if I don't want to have a successful relationship, what are all the things that I should do in order to not have a successful relationship? Great. I'm going to do the opposite of those things. So it's
Yeah.
just like the reverse of thinking about that. I think that's so cool.
Yeah. Sometimes you get a front row seat at an amazing person or a way of thing, and you learn from that. And sometimes it's the opposite. And you're like,
Yeah.
this sucks, but I'm going to take it all in because I'm watching a train wreck. And it's like,
Right.
oh, okay, that's how, oh yeah, that's how you respond to that. Okay. Then I'll think about it differently. Like your
Right.
brain goes there. Wow, that's weird. Okay. And it's already like an instinctual thing for me. It's not like
Yeah.
I already don't think that way naturally about so much
Yes.
stuff, but it was like on top of that, I've seen what thinking, it's not even just like my gut tells me. I've seen firsthand what thinking that way, being that way, acting that way, treating people that way,
Yeah.
running a
Right.
company that way, making decisions that way. I've seen it all. So I don't want to
That's
go in.
great.
I'll never drop the name because it's just not worth it. And I don't want
No,
to
of
hurt
course.
anybody, but it was
Yep.
just, it was a great experience. It's like
100%.
I could write a book about that.
Yeah, right. There was so there's like a couple takeaways just from this and even when we talked the first time, but like your competitiveness, your like you act with no fear, which I've always loved about you. And like I mean, you just have like the natural sales ability and then your fascination with like technology and product. It's just what makes you such a dynamic force. And it's just something that I really, really admire about you.
Well, thanks, man. I appreciate you saying that.
Yeah, absolutely.
But if you're genuinely excited about it, it's like you can't keep it in.
Yeah,
People can
100%.
tell. It's like, I don't know. I'm like, it's that whole like sales is conveying and like transferring your enthusiasm to other people. I just have
Yeah.
like I do that and I don't try to. It's just like
Right.
you start talking about something you believe in and are passionate about, and it just
Yep.
happens naturally, right? You don't have
Yeah.
to like, oh, let me turn that switch on so I can put that persona and that hat on and be that guy. It's just,
Right.
hey,
This
and
is
it's not
me.
like that. It's not like that about everything. There's
No,
tons
of
of stuff where
course.
I'm like flatline and you'll be
Right.
like, oh, his eyes are rolling into the back of his head. I think we lost him. He's on the floor. Like, tons of stuff like that. But
Yeah.
yeah, you hit the right points and it's like,
Right.
pull my string. And if you don't,
Yes.
I'll pull it myself.
Yeah, right. But it's just, you're 100%. It's like that natural transfer of energy. And I think it's important. Like if anybody listening, like if you find that thing that lights you up and you're like, I don't know what else I would want to be doing with my time. Like I want to spend my time on this. There's nothing else that like, this doesn't feel like a work to me. Like this is
Yeah.
me natural. This is it. Like this is life. I want to be doing these things.
Yeah. That's when you found something special, right? That's pretty
100%.
sweet. And then a lot of people don't get that. So it's, you got to appreciate every minute of that because, you don't know how long anything lasts. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah, 100%. So, I mean, we don't have to go super deep into like the journey of leadPops up into this point, but I am super curious. There's like two real big areas that I wanted to talk to you about. One of them being like just like, industry kind of specific for like the mortgage industry right now. Like obviously a lot of people have had sort of, a tough time recently with like their marketing and just business in general. So like, what are the things that you guys are kind of looking at from like a marketing kind of perspective that like you guys are pivoting with? Are you guys using like AI in your business nowadays? Like, what does that sort of look like? Just thinking about marketing and how landscape is changing. How are you guys pivoting just like in the business in general?
Yeah. So great question. So it's, what we're doing internally for ourselves as a company to get better at what we do as from an operational standpoint, from a marketing standpoint, messaging, like product, all that stuff.
Yeah.
That's one conversation. And then there's, well, what about your customers and what are you doing for them? Right.
Right.
So for that, and I'll focus there because that is always our priority. It's like you're the cobbler who's like, you don't even have shoes on sometimes. It's like, so much, you don't have all the resources and the money in the world. So you have to spend your time and focus on certain things. And a lot of times, that focus is on trying to create better experiences and better solutions for our customers, meaning we kind of sometimes you neglect your own stuff. And,
Yeah. Right.
it isn't exactly, there's so many things I'd be like, yeah, that would be different. This would be here. That would be there. I'd have this resource. Like I can't because I'm over here and all the money and time and effort and people are putting all of our attention into how do we solve the challenges that our clients need us to solve. Because if we can do that, then all this other stuff is going to happen because the
Right.
money's there, the client success is there, the
Yes.
retention, all the cool stuff that you get to experience when you solve the core problems you're trying to solve. It'll just happen naturally, right?
Right.
So,
Right.
so our focus is on customers, and there's just a really, I think there's a big gap in the mortgage industry, and there has been for a long time, and then people are feeling it now more than ever in terms of how to create and treat existing opportunities and how to look at the business in a way that's like, if you're planning on doing this for longer than 6 months, then you got to operate in a completely different way. And there's
Yes.
so many so many mortgage people out there, and this isn't a condemnation. It's not a critique. It's not just calling them out and being like, oh, I care about y'all and I want to help you, but we got to speak very bluntly because we can't solve stuff if we're going to just dance around it and pretend it's all. That's not nice to say. We got to address it because if nobody does, there's no way to solve it, right?
Yes,
but it's
totally.
it's having a long-term vision, long-term thinking, treating the business as if you're the entrepreneur and CEO of your own operation.
Yes.
Nobody's going to come to save you. It ain't corporate. It ain't your boss. Nobody, you got to run your own operation and your own show as if it's like your livelihood and your family and your ability to stay alive in this space is on the line, because it absolutely is now more than ever. When refinance falls out of the sky the way it has been for the last couple of years, makes everybody look like real smart and a stud. Now it's like, okay,
it's gone out. Yeah.
Now we got to look at who's left and what are you doing and how are you going to survive and what are you going to thrive, right? Let alone like take this thing to the next level. When people are struggling, they're going out of business, they're folding and packing up their bags and closing the doors, they're giving up, they're just waiting for things to improve. Like there's no plan. There's no long-term thinking. There's no, like, if a lead comes in now that I can't help today, what are you going to do to have something in place to help that person later when the time is right?
Right.
How do you treat the opportunities that do come in? How many calls? What's your outreach? What do you do with your database? How are you found? If I look you up, can I even find you online? Like, what value are you creating for referral partners? How many referral partners do you have? What are you doing in terms of growing that opportunity? Because there's a couple different ways to get clients, right? B2B referral partners are big for mortgage people, as well as direct to consumer, getting your own leads. So you're not relying on agents. It's just having a really understanding of this full kind of system that we've called it AC3K. Like we've coined it. We look at a flywheel. It's a infinite customer loop. AC3K stands for attract, capture, convert. You have to do that. You have to be able to attract, capture, and convert. And then you can close, and then you can keep. So if you attract, capture, convert, you get to close people, you get to have conversations, you get to do business, and then you have the right systems in place. Then you get to maximize your lifetime value. You get to do repeat business. You get to get referrals and all these wonderful things that happen. So the thing comes full circle, right? So it's an infinite customer loop, and it's solving every single one of those pillars. And we really focus on the first three primarily, because I can't close your loans for you, but I can help. I can help with some guidance, some coaching, and some access and systems and trusted partners that do assist with helping you have a higher close rate, because that's important, right?
Right.
You give one guy 50 leads and he's like, I closed none of them. Oh, the leads suck, or you're not good on the phone. You don't listen. Like, I listened to some of your phone calls. The guy said this, you were just totally ignoring him, and you jumped over here to some that matters, right? So if you can't close the leads, sometimes are the leads any good? Or is it the person that's receiving those leads and they're not trained, they're not honed, they don't know how to treat those opportunities, they don't know how to talk to people. They're good at maybe a referral from a realtor, and that's a layup, but they're really bad when a lead or an opportunity comes in off the internet, off an ad,
consumer, totally.
All that stuff. So it's like understanding, where do they come from? How do you treat them? What are the mechanisms? How do you follow up? How do you get in front of the people? Because if you get in front of them, that's important, but you got to have a way to capture them.
Yes.
So if you're driving traffic and getting clicks and getting eyeballs, people watching your videos, all this good stuff you're doing to attract people, you have to have a mechanism to capture. And if you don't, then you're spending and wasting a lot of money on attraction and opportunities that just fall through the cracks.
Right.
Then if you capture, but you don't convert, you got another problem. What's the point of all that? You just attracted and captured, but you're not talking to anybody. You're not pulling credit. You're not doing apps. You're not building relationships because you're floundering on the lead follow-up. You haven't even talked to, 55 leads came in and you talked to 2 people, because it takes you 3 hours to return a phone call, and you don't have any systems and mechanisms in place to help work that lead and really follow up the way you should be.
Right.
These are all things like you can't get to the close land if you blow it on any one of those first 3 buckets, right? Close land is where the fun happens. You don't get there if you don't do the first 3.
Right.
And then if you close, then you get to keep. That's your opportunity there. But you don't get to either one of these if you don't do those first 3.
Yes.
We have to solve the entire flywheel. And the one that is, I guess you could say, I don't really need that. It's the keep one, but it's so stupid to not put any effort. And I'm sorry to say it like that, but it is. It's dumb to start all over again every single time.
Yeah, of course.
Instead of making it infinite loop, we have a line, and then we have to got to start all over again. It's like, okay, if we put some effort and resources into the right systems and strategies to keep customers,
yes,
now we have a flywheel that just keeps spitting out clients.
That's great.
and opportunities that you create now. I have a client, for example, that he's like the poster child of some of the stuff we do and teach and preach. He started this whole journey like 12 months ago. He's gotten I think it was 6,000 leads, 3,000 apps, 120 something closed loans.
Whoa.
He's like, dude, the leads I'm closing today, right now, these are leads I captured around this time last year.
Yes.
Like relationships I started building, stuff I was working on, but I had systems, I had strategies, I had ways to keep in front of people. I didn't just say, hey, no, your credit sucks, so be gone.
See ya. Right.
I have ways to actually work those people and bring them back and alert me when things happen that tell me that, hey, that person's actually ready. So I work those leads. So deals and seeds I planted 12 months ago, the fruits of those are sprouting, and I'm killing it at a time where people are wondering where the hell their next deal is going to come from.
100%.
He can't keep up.
Right.
So that's
a nice problem.
Possible.
Yeah. Right. 100%.
It takes, getting over that. Well, if it doesn't close in the first, 2-3 months, then I don't want to deal with it. It's just a waste of my time. Right. Yeah, maybe you could do that 2 years ago. You can't do that right now, and you should never, ever think about it that way, because you're going to always be in this little cycle of the business and at the mercy of whatever the hell is happening in the economy or in the industry or all these things. It's like you could control your own destiny. There's a lot of things you can't control, but there's so many that you can, and you gotta get really good at that stuff.
Dude, I love that. Well, like the two main themes there is like, one, the things that we're doing now, like will compound on top of itself, and we'll continue to, like, the energy and the skills that I'm doing now, again, like you said, having that long-term time horizon. And instead of like wanting to restart and start again every single month and like having just a blank slate, like if I'm building a pipeline and then that's compounding on top of itself, then like I know, and I'm nurturing that database, I know where that deal is going to come from. And the other thing being your knack for like solving the main problem and getting to the core of something and focusing on what that problem is. Like, again, I think that's just taking the blinders off and like not being afraid to like be honest about what truly is happening. And that's one of the other questions that I want to ask you. And I think you touched on it a little bit, but like, I've just been so curious, like how you, like, because we talked about like just like what you guys are solving, like leadPops, but like, and Rebel IQ, but like you as Andrew, like how are you keeping your like finger on the pulse of thinking strategically high level of like how to push leadPops, and Rebel IQ to like where you want ultimately the business to be, but also staying like within what problems my clients are having right now to be able to like solve for them. So like strategically thinking for like, this is the direction that I want leadPops to go or Rebel IQ to go, but like also still staying like in the weeds of like, okay, these are the problems that are happening in the short term right now, and this is what needs to happen with the product to be able to solve for our clients. Like, how does that work for you?
That's an interesting question. So, I don't remove myself from being I'm an in the weeds CEO. Okay. And I say that, I don't brag about that. I would really like to elevate some of the stuff I do still on a day-to-day basis. Like, and I won't achieve growth as a leader and as the CEO until I can break out of some of the things I'm still finding myself doing. Cause I don't know how I can get some of it off of my plate. I do try to delegate and get stuff as much as I can, off of out of my schedule, and try to like clear things up so I can do big picture thinking, visionary culture, be the ultimate storyteller and cheerleader of the business and all these things. But I'm still on the phone with clients, and I talk to people, and I talk to loan officers, and I talk to our partners, and I hear what their pains are, and I pay a hell of a lot of attention to what people are saying. And I've taken a step back with the evolution of Rebel IQ, and that was why that happened. Was like, we've been throwing different ways of kind of patching the hole for a little bit and trying to solve the problem in different ways. Like, oh, they need help with like traffic. All right, so we're gonna throw this at it, and then it's like, oh man, we got traffic and leads, but they suck at the follow up. Oh man, so okay, let's make sure they have a CRM. And it just took taking a step back from that and saying, okay, big picture, what is going on? Because we've got we're trying to patch these holes, and it's like whack-a-mole. And if you don't solve all of them, and you just address one, or you kind of address partly but not really a full solution, you're not truly bringing a solution to the table. So it took that, take a step back. Let's really look at what's going on, what's needed, what's the future of the business, and creating solutions based off of that. So,
all right,
that's really, I'd say the biggest value that I get out of being in the weeds is it means I'm not in some office in my tower locked up with some, delusional idea of what I think the industry needs from my standpoint. I can't solve it all, but I think I get a lot of it pretty damn well.
That's great. I really like that. I know you're on a time crunch, so we can wrap things up there. I'd love to have you back on and go go deeper into team structure and what it's been like to just like hire on more people and delegate, and just like your own, sort of process of dealing with that. But anybody that like wants to learn more from you or wants to engage and, be part of, working with you guys, where should they go?
Yeah, absolutely. Go to rebeliq.com.
Fantastic.
Right on that site. If you want to talk to our team, there's a lot of different ways to get in touch with us. So we practice what we preach. You
I
can't
love
escape it. We don't know. I don't think we overdo it, but we don't make it difficult to find ways that you can engage with us, talk to us, do a strategy call, talk to our team and see if it's a fit. Not everybody's a good fit, but we'll try to figure that out pretty quickly. And if we're not, we'll tell you, explain why and show you some different ways that maybe there's some alternatives. If you are, we'll definitely be really passionate and excited to bring you on and have you work with us. And then I post most of my content on LinkedIn. So if you're interested, find me on LinkedIn, look up Rebel IQ, and you'll probably just find that I post almost daily. So I try to put some good stuff out there and try to help people as much as possible there as well.
Dude, I love it. And I'll be sure to link all that stuff down in this description. Obviously, everyone that's listening, watching, make sure you leave us a like, give us a review, make sure you subscribe on YouTube. And again, Andrew, really, really appreciate your time. This was super valuable. Thank you so much. To all my builders out there, I salute you, and I will see you guys in the next episode.
Thanks.